APC leaders who attack Obasanjo for supporting Obi expose their democracy deceit, intolerance, and others. Ogene said, yes, because Obasanjo endorsed Peter Obi, everybody in PDP and APC came for him, blasting him, all right? And we said, assuming Obasanjo endorsed Atiku or Tinubu, will anybody come for him? Will even Labour Party come for Obasanjo? No. First of all, Peter Obi and Labour Party are all people with integrity and with certain, revered decorum. They don't just come out to say something that is not, all right? And they won't agitate the waters when it is not necessary. It's only PDP and APC that have been very aggressive, especially APC, right? So what Ogene is saying here is that the both APC people and probably PDP that came after Obasanjo to attack him for endorsing Peter Obi are all exposing their democracy deceit and intolerance for opposition party members. And that is very, very bad, all right? So let's see what he has to say more. Honorable Afam Ogene, a former member of the House of Representatives and House of Reps candidate of the Labour Party for Ogbaru Federal Constituency, had described the torrents of criticisms and attacks on former President Olusegun Obasanjo over their recent public declaration of support for Peter Obi as dishonorable and crude exhibition of intolerance of alternative views and disrespect for the elderly. That is very comprehensive. Very, very comprehensive. Because if you can have such junior politicians in both APC and PDP insulting Obasanjo, who is 3 times president of Nigeria. First was 1976 to 1979 as military head of state. Second was, and third were between 1999 and 2007 as civilian president of Nigeria. And this is the most revered ex-president of Nigeria alive in Nigeria today. So if such person who cannot even tread on his political track are insulting him, is a form of disrespect for the elderly. That is the truth. That is the truth. So what our firm is saying is that those people that came to troll on him, to insult him, to blast him for endorsing Peter Obi is out of jealousy, out of frustration, and out of disappointment. They never expected Obasanjo to do that. But Obasanjo, as another statesman who knows Nigeria more than others, actually have done the needful. And there is big sense in his sense of judgment. That is the big truth about it. So let's see what Afam has to say more. This, he said, negates the values of African culture and principles of democracy that thrived on the plurality of opinions and freedom of choice. Right? Ogene contended that in spite of former President Obasanjo's known or alleged human frailties or shortcomings, right, the vicious attacks on his person and characters remained uncharitable and condemnable. He as well observed that Chief Obasanjo was not alone in the attacks. He named other elder statesmen equally being trolled by agents of the All Progressive Congress APC for similarly endorsing Obi of the Labour Party as Pa Adebanjo of Afenifere and Chief Edwin Clark, from the Niger Delta. He said, while Pa Adebanjo is a leader of the Pan-Yoruba group Afenifere, Clark heads the Apex Niger Delta group PANDEF. All right. Such disrespect and wide deployment of denigrating language and sly innuendos against the elders, coming especially from very senior politicians, journalists, and media managers in APC, is symptomatic of their false claims of being adherents of democracy. Wow, this is fan-bloody-tastic, all right? On the contrary, their current disposition easily mirrors the deceit, temperament, and inner demons of both the marketers and the products being marketed as alleged hero of democracy and self-acclaimed heir to the throne. They can never be heir to the throne now. Like Tinubu is saying Emiloko, that is self-acclaimed heir of the throne of presidency, and that is not true. Ogene, in the statement he issued in Oka, Anambra State on Sunday, January 8, 2023, said that no reasonable person burns down an invaluable library of leadership, experience, and knowledge, which the trio of Obasanjo, Adebanjo, and Clark represent, on the altar of partisan preference and selfish political ambition, just because the views expressed do not fit into their personal agenda. Wow. He noted that what the elder statesman did was not necessarily a mere endorsement of Obi, but essentially to point out a direction which they believe, as elders and leaders, would lead to a better future for the teeming youths of the nation who, without any iota of doubt, are desirous of positive change. Great. He said further, in doing that, Obasanjo and the other revered elders have fulfilled two core responsibilities as political leaders, opinion molders, and elders in an African society, to point to the younger generation the road to travel, as well as avoid sitting on the fence by not being ambiguous about their position on such a critical national issue. Fantastic. Such a virtue, rather than being disparaged in the manner the APC and its agents have done, ought to be applauded and emulated by all. All right. It should be noted that Obasanjo is a former head of state and former president who, from a humble beginning, reached the pinnacle of his first profession, the military, and the zenith of political power in Nigeria as elected president. In making his political choice of supporting Obi, is neither in search of wealth, power, nor relevance. He has seen it all, and that is true. That is true. To him, and the duo of Adebanjo and Clark at their current ripe old age and unquestionable international recognition and contacts are eminently qualified to be ascribed the role of moral conscience of the nation. Their role, therefore, is to simply point the way forward. While it is entirely up to the Nigerian electorate to make their individual choices, all right, and hopefully live with whatever choice they make, one way or another. After all, a time-honored African proverb proclaims that what an elder sees sitting down, many remain illusionary to a younger person, even if he climbs the tallest tree. As a matter of fact, those hirelings and their principals. Wow. So this is coming from Afam, and this is a very good one. Honorable Afam Ogene, a former House of Rep member and currently House of Rep candidate under Labour Party in Anambra State. Okay, has just made this assertion, and it's very, very true and very honest in his statement, and that is the truth, right? People who dishonor old men who have clear vision obviously dishonor themselves. What Adebanjo, Edwin Clark, and Obasanjo saw sitting down, all of these making comments and trolling on them, cannot see them even when they climb the rooftop. Okay, I will just take a few comments here, maybe two because of time. Here, Nigerians have already made up their minds to vote Peter Gregory. All right, Onwubuasi Obi. All right, before Obasanjo's endorsement came. And his endorsement only reinforces the position of youths and millions of Nigerians whose only hope for our rescue is Peter Obi. And that is true. So it's like these old men that made this endorsement for Peter Obi were just following the trend of the young men and women of Nigeria, all right, having made that decision to vote Peter Obi already. If the hope of Nigerians for rescue depends on any man, then Nigeria's future is finished. America is living by trusting in God, all right? And you are here directing us to a man who is full of life. Definitely, people need to understand that God will not come down from heaven to do things himself anymore. He must use men. And one of the greatest gifts you must have is identify who God has positioned to actualize his aim and his interest for men, right? So people are trolling behind and following Peter Obi simply because they have seen the grace of God in him, and that this is probably and most likely the man God wants to use to turn this around in Nigeria and for Nigerians. So it's not that pointing the hand for people to follow Obi, is that they're putting their trust in Obi. They're putting their trust in God, hoping that God will actualize his plan for Nigerians through Peter Obi as a vessel of honor. That is the way I see it. All right. And so it's not that Nigerians are putting their trust in man, they are still putting their trust in God, but God is going to use someone to actualize that position. All right. And so that is the much I can share in terms of comments for now. Thank you for listening, and let's have your comments below.